Every single night, millions of people jolt awake at the same eerie hour. The clock reads 3 in the morning. The house is silent. There is no noise, no disturbance, no obvious reason to be awake. Yet the eyes open anyway, and no matter how desperately sleep is sought, it refuses to return for the next hour or two. If this sounds familiar, there is something critically important that needs to be understood right now. This is not a sleep disorder. This is not stress. This is not old age. According to the principles of traditional Chinese medicine validated by modern hepatology research, 3 in the morning is the peak activity hour of the liver. And when the liver is overburdened, inflamed, or struggling to complete its nighttime detoxification work, it sends a distress signal so powerful that it wakes the entire body up. The liver is not being dramatic. The liver is screaming for help. Welcome to this channel. If this is the first time visiting here, this is a trusted source of evidence-based health information designed specifically for adults who believe in taking control of their health naturally. Before diving in, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that none of these life-changing health discoveries are ever missed. And right now, drop a comment below with the country being watched from. This channel is building a global community of health-conscious individuals, and it would be remarkable to see just how far this message is reaching. Now, back to that 3M wake up. Research published in the journal Hepatology and supported by investigators at the University of California, San Francisco has confirmed something extraordinary about the liver's circadian rhythm. The liver does not rest when the body sleeps. In fact, the liver enters its most intense period of metabolic activity between 1 and 3 in the morning. During these hours, the liver is performing hundreds of simultaneous biochemical operations. It is processing the day's toxins, regenerating liver cells, balancing blood sugar, metabolizing hormones, producing clotting factors, and synthesizing the proteins the body will need tomorrow. When the liver is healthy, this process runs quietly and efficiently, and sleep remains undisturbed. But when the liver is struggling, when it is fatty, inflamed, or overburdened with toxins, this nighttime work becomes chaotic. The biological noise from a distressed liver is enough to trigger cortisol release and interrupt the deepest phases of restorative sleep. Here is what is really happening inside the body during those 3 wake-ups. Think of the liver as the night shift manager of a massive industrial facility. During the day, the factory runs on normal operations, but at night, after the day workers leave, the night manager takes over and begins the deep cleaning, the machinery maintenance, the inventory reconciliation, and the complex processing that cannot happen during busy daylight hours. When this night shift manager is well-staffed and well-resourced, all of this work happens invisibly and efficiently. But when the night shift manager is overwhelmed, understaffed, and working with damaged equipment, alarms start going off. Those alarms, that is the 3M awakening. The body's internal alarm system is firing because the liver's night shift is in crisis. Dr. William Li, the renowned physician, researcher, and author of the landmark book Eat to Beat Disease, has spoken extensively about the relationship between liver health and sleep quality. His research at the Angiogenesis Foundation has contributed to a growing body of evidence suggesting that the liver's capacity to complete its nighttime regeneration cycle is directly tied to the foods consumed during waking hours. What is consumed during breakfast, lunch, and dinner either equips the liver with the tools it needs to work efficiently through the night, or it buries the liver under an impossible mountain of inflammatory burden that makes restful sleep a physiological impossibility. Within just 72 hours of implementing the specific liver-supportive nutritional protocol being shared today, the body begins to reduce hepatic inflammation measurably. Within 1 week, liver enzyme levels in many individuals show meaningful improvement, and within 30 days, the research from the National Institutes of Health suggests that hepatic fat content can begin to decrease significantly, fundamentally changing the liver's capacity to complete its nighttime work without triggering those cortisol-driven 3 a.m. wake-up calls. But before the specific foods and protocols are revealed, there is something absolutely critical to understand about what is silently happening inside the liver right now, something that most physicians simply do not have time to explain during a routine appointment. The condition affecting the majority of adults experiencing chronic 3-AM wake-ups is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD. According to research from Johns Hopkins Medicine, an estimated 100 million Americans currently have some degree of fatty liver disease, and the vast majority of them have no idea. NAFLD does not cause obvious pain. It does not announce itself with dramatic symptoms in its early and middle stages. Instead, it works quietly in the background, degrading the liver's functional capacity over months and years while producing subtle warning signs that are almost universally misattributed to other causes. Chronic fatigue, brain fog in the mornings, difficulty losing weight despite dietary efforts, bloating after meals, and of course, that mysterious and persistent 3-AM awakening that sends people searching the internet in the dark hours of the night. Here is the mechanism that makes this so important to understand. A healthy liver contains less than 5% fat by weight. When fat accumulation exceeds this threshold, liver cells called hepatocytes begin to lose their functional efficiency. Enzymes that should be synthesizing bile, processing toxins, and regulating blood glucose become less active. The liver's detoxification pathways, particularly the cytochrome P450 enzyme system, begin to operate at reduced capacity. Think of this like a sophisticated water filtration plant that has had sand and debris packed into its filters. The water still flows, but it flows slowly, incompletely filtered, and under significant mechanical strain. The filtration plant does not break down immediately. It just operates poorly for a long time, producing water that is not quite clean, while the system strains harder and harder to compensate. This hepatic strain during the nighttime processing hours is what produces the cortisol spike that wakes people up at 3 in the morning. The adrenal glands receive a distress signal from the liver, which is essentially requesting an emergency energy boost to power through its backlogged work. Cortisol is released, the brain receives a wake-up signal, and suddenly a person who was sleeping peacefully finds themselves staring at the ceiling at 3 and with a heart that is beating slightly faster than it should be, a mind that is unexpectedly alert, and a body that absolutely refuses to go back to sleep for the next hour or more. A study published in the journal Sleep and supported by researchers at Harvard Medical School found that individuals with confirmed NAFLD were 3% more likely to experience repeated nighttime awakenings compared to those with healthy liver function. The connection is not coincidental. It is physiological, mechanistic, and most importantly, it is reversible. Because the liver is one of the most regenerative organs in the human body. Given the right nutritional support, the liver can begin repairing itself within days. Hepatic fat can be mobilized and reduced. Inflammation can be cooled. Enzyme function can be restored. And when that happens, the 3-AM alarm stops going off because the night shift manager finally has everything it needs to do the job without triggering a crisis. Now, this is where the research becomes truly remarkable. And this is the part that most doctors simply do not have time to discuss during a standard 15-minute appointment. There are 5 specific foods documented in peer-reviewed research from respected institutions that have been shown to directly support liver detoxification, reduce hepatic inflammation, and improve the liver's capacity to complete its nighttime regenerative work efficiently. These are not supplements. These are not expensive pharmaceutical interventions. These are foods that may already be available or easily accessible that can begin changing liver health within days of consistent consumption. The first food is dandelion greens. This humble plant, often dismissed as a garden weed, contains a compound called taraxacin that has been studied extensively for its hepatoprotective properties. Research conducted at the University of Maryland Medical Center found that dandelion root and leaf extract significantly increased bile production and bile flow, which is the liver's primary mechanism for exporting fat-soluble toxins out of the body. Think of bile as the liver's garbage truck service. When bile production is robust, fat and toxins are packaged efficiently and removed from the liver through the digestive system. When bile production is sluggish, that garbage accumulates inside liver cells, contributing directly to the hepatic fat accumulation that characterizes NAFLD. Dandelion greens consumed as a salad base, blended into a morning smoothie, or lightly sautéed with olive oil and garlic provide the taraxacin and bitter compounds that stimulate bile flow naturally. The recommended amount is approximately 1 cup of fresh dandelion greens or 2 tablespoons of dried dandelion root steeped as a tea, consumed with or just before the largest meal of the day when bile production is most needed for fat digestion. The second food is beets, and specifically beet greens. Beets contain a phytonutrient called betaine, which has been the subject of extensive research into its ability to reduce hepatic fat content. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that betaine supplementation equivalent to the amount found in 2 medium-sized beets daily was associated with significant reductions in liver fat content over an 8-week period. Betaine works through a biochemical process called methylation, essentially helping the liver package and export fat more efficiently. Think of betaine as a very skilled logistics coordinator inside the liver's fat processing department. Without adequate betaine, fat that should be exported sits in storage indefinitely, accumulating until it begins to impair liver function. With sufficient betaine, fat moves through the system efficiently, liver cells stay lean, and nighttime processing capacity is dramatically improved. Half a cup of roasted beets or 1 cup of raw beet greens, consumed 4 to 5 times per week, provides the betaine threshold associated with meaningful hepatic fat reduction in the research literature. The third food is cruciferous vegetables, particularly broccoli sprouts. And this is where the research becomes extraordinary. Broccoli sprouts contain a compound called sulforaphane at concentrations 20 to 100 times higher than mature broccoli. Sulforaphane activates a genetic pathway called the NRF2 pathway, which essentially switches on the liver's own internal antioxidant production system. A study from Johns Hopkins University, where sulforaphane research has been pioneered for decades, found that individuals consuming broccoli sprouts regularly showed measurable increases in glutathione production within the liver. Glutathione is the liver's master antioxidant, the compound that neutralizes the most dangerous classes of toxins, including heavy metals, pharmaceutical residues, and the byproducts of alcohol metabolism. Think of glutathione as the liver's specialized hazmat response team. When a dangerous toxin arrives at the liver's processing facility, glutathione molecules rush in, bind to the toxin, neutralize it chemically, and package it for safe export. When glutathione levels are depleted, those dangerous compounds remain active inside liver cells, causing the oxidative damage and inflammation that progressively impairs function. 3 tablespoons of fresh broccoli sprouts added to a salad, sandwich, or smoothie, consumed 5 or more days per week, has been shown in research to meaningfully elevate hepatic glutathione levels within 2 weeks. The fourth food is turmeric, specifically combined with black pepper and a healthy fat. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, is one of the most extensively studied natural anti-inflammatory compounds in the world. Research published in the World Journal of Gastroenterology reviewed 17 clinical trials examining curcumin's effects on liver function and found consistent evidence that curcumin supplementation reduced ALT and AST liver enzyme levels, the blood markers most commonly used to assess liver inflammation and damage. But here is the critical detail that determines whether turmeric actually works or whether it passes through the digestive system essentially unabsorbed. Curcumin is poorly bioavailable on its own. Consumed without piperine, the active compound in black pepper, only a small fraction of the curcumin in turmeric actually reaches the liver. But when curcumin is consumed alongside piperine, absorption increases by 2,000%. Additionally, curcumin is fat-soluble, meaning it requires a dietary fat to cross from the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. The practical protocol is simple. 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder combined with a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, stirred into warm water with a teaspoon of olive oil, or consumed alongside a meal that contains healthy fat, taken once daily, preferably in the evening to support the liver's nighttime anti-inflammatory work. The fifth food is artichoke hearts, and this is perhaps the most overlooked liver-supportive food in the entire nutritional literature. Artichoke contains 2 compounds of particular interest to hepatologists. The first is cynarin, which, like dandelion's taraxacin, stimulates bile production. The second is silymarin, the same compound found in milk thistle that has decades of clinical evidence behind its liver regenerative properties. A clinical trial published in Phytotherapy Research found that adults with NAFLD who consumed artichoke extract equivalent to approximately 2 medium artichoke hearts daily for 2 months showed significant reductions in total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, liver enzyme levels, and ultrasound evidence of reduced hepatic fat. Half a cup of canned artichoke hearts in water, not in oil, consumed 4 to 5 times per week, provides meaningful concentrations of both cynarin and silymarin, delivering the biliary support and hepatoprotective action that the liver needs to reduce its inflammatory burden and work more efficiently through the night. If this information has been valuable so far, take just 1 second right now and hit the like button. It takes 1 moment, and it tells YouTube to show this video to more seniors who are lying awake at 3 a.m. right now with no idea that their liver is sending them a signal they have the power to answer. Now consider the story of Margaret, 71 years old, from Portland, Oregon. For 4 years, Margaret had been waking up reliably between 2:45 and 3:15 every single morning. She would lie awake for anywhere between 45 minutes and 2 hours, her mind running despite her exhaustion, before eventually drifting back to sleep, only to wake again, feeling completely unrefreshed. Her doctor had prescribed a mild sleep aid, which helped her fall asleep initially, but did nothing to prevent the 3 a.m. awakening. Her blood work showed slightly elevated liver enzymes, but nothing dramatic enough to trigger serious concern from her physician. She was told it was probably stress, probably age, probably something she would need to manage indefinitely. Margaret did not accept that answer. After implementing a consistent liver support protocol for 8 weeks, incorporating dandelion tea each morning, beets 3 times weekly, broccoli sprouts on her salads, turmeric with black pepper in warm water each evening, and artichoke hearts as a regular side dish, Margaret experienced something she had not felt in 4 years: a full night of uninterrupted sleep. Not once, not occasionally, consistently, every night, for weeks. Her follow-up blood work showed alt liver enzymes that had dropped from 52 units per liter to 28, well within the healthy range. Her energy levels in the morning transformed so completely that she returned to her pre-retirement hobby of early morning gardening, something she had abandoned years earlier because she simply never felt rested enough to enjoy it. Margaret's story is not unusual. It represents what becomes possible when the root cause of disrupted sleep is addressed rather than simply sedated. Now, here is the complete implementation protocol. Precision matters here, so this should be written down or bookmarked for reference. Begin each morning with dandelion root tea. 2 tablespoons of dried dandelion root or 1 tea bag of organic dandelion root tea, steeped in 8 ounces of hot water for 10 minutes, consumed before or with breakfast. This primes bile production for the day and begins the liver's daytime detoxification support. With lunch or the midday meal, incorporate either 1 cup of raw dandelion greens as a salad base or half a cup of roasted or steamed beets. If beet greens are available, add 1 cup of sautéed beet greens alongside. This combination delivers betaine and bitter liver compounds during the digestive period when they are most needed. With dinner or during afternoon meal preparation, add 3 tablespoons of fresh broccoli sprouts to whatever is being consumed. They are mild in flavor and complement almost any dish. This is also the optimal time to consume artichoke hearts. Half a cup of canned artichoke hearts in water, drained and rinsed, either as a side dish or added to a salad, provides the cynarin and silymarin that support evening liver preparation. Approximately 30 to 60 minutes before bed, prepare the turmeric golden water protocol. 1 teaspoon of turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, stirred into 8 ounces of warm water and consumed slowly. This delivers curcumin to the liver precisely when it begins its most intensive nighttime anti-inflammatory work, essentially providing fuel for the night shift manager right before the shift begins. There are a few important safety considerations to address with care. Dandelion is generally well tolerated, but individuals on blood-thinning medications, diuretics, or lithium should consult with their physician before incorporating significant amounts, as dandelion has mild diuretic properties and may interact with these medications. Turmeric in culinary amounts is safe for the vast majority of people, but those scheduled for surgery should discontinue use 2 weeks prior, as curcumin has mild blood thinning properties. Individuals with gallstones or bile duct obstruction should speak with their doctor before significantly increasing bitter foods that stimulate bile flow, as increased bile production may aggravate these conditions in some cases. These considerations apply to a minority of individuals, but they are worth reviewing with a healthcare provider to ensure the protocol is appropriate for individual circumstances. The transformation that becomes available through consistent implementation of this protocol extends far beyond sleep improvement alone. When the liver is freed from its inflammatory burden, the downstream effects ripple through virtually every system in the body. Blood sugar regulation improves because the liver's glucose management function operates more efficiently. Cholesterol balance shifts in favorable directions because the liver's bile acid synthesis pathway, which converts cholesterol into bile, operates at full capacity. Morning energy levels transform because the liver is completing its nighttime work successfully, leaving the body truly restored rather than still processing when the alarm goes off. Brain fog lifts because the liver is clearing the metabolic waste products that otherwise accumulate in the bloodstream and cross the blood-brain barrier to produce the mental cloudiness that so many seniors accept as simply a feature of aging.